Cage Minds. We're live with Jordan Espinosa. Thanks for the time, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just ending up training, getting ready to head out to Newark in less than a week.
Your second official UFC fight. How excited?
I'm super excited. It was nice to get the first one out of the way. I'm looking to start my UFC run by getting on a win streak, so not bad.
You can officially now call yourself a UFC fighter, and all the interviews before the last fight, I know that was a big thing for you, was finally really getting that UFC experience.
No, for sure. It's kind of cliche, but everyone says getting to the UFC isn't as easy compared to staying in the UFC, and I think part of that is getting off to a good start. So going in there and getting my first win against a veteran in the UFC, a proven guy, was big for me.
Now, your last, 3-4 fights, even before the UFC, counting the Contender Series, you were kind of already at this level. Did it feel like a different level getting in there with Eric Shelton, or really it did feel like those last several fights had been at the same level?
It was different. I don't think Eric Shelton's like a lot better than the guys I had fought previously, but it was definitely different. Maybe it was just the environment or the whole UFC experience, I guess, that I hadn't experienced before. Like, I never had even been to a UFC event as a spectator, let alone a fighter, and I still haven't been as a spectator to this day. But it was a little different. Although I think the two Contender Series fights, in terms of nerves and atmosphere and high pressure environment, I think those really helped me to stay composed during my debut.
So how much different was fight week for you? Because having been on these regional shows, there's not as many days, you're not as out there as early, there's not the open workouts, there's not media obligations. It's a different feeling, right? So what was fight week itself like for you?
So luckily for me, fight week wasn't that different, especially from the Contender Series. For my debut, they didn't have a ceremonial weigh-in. There wasn't an official kind of media day, I don't think, except for maybe like the main event. They had an open workout, but I didn't have to. All I had to do was worry about cutting weight and then weighing in, and then there was a short face-off after weigh-ins, and that's pretty much how the Contender Series was for the last two times. It's nice compared to other maybe regional promotions where you don't always have a scale available to you at all times. So things like that, those small things, having a driver to take you to go cut weight and things like that, those are big.
So now, this week ahead of you, if you do end up media days, some of those extra things, I think that this has been a nicer little kind of welcoming to the process, having went this Contender Series route and having kind of been able to get used to it.
Yeah. I do think I kind of just take the approach that even if it does kind of take me away from training or thought process, it's I'm just grateful to kind of be here. I'm grateful that I get to even experience this kind of thing when most people go their whole careers and never even make it to the UFC. So for me, it's just more of an appreciation thing, and I just try to take it all in and take it in stride.
And looking at this fight coming up, Matt Schnell, a guy that seen Legacy FC where he came up for a long time, saw him through the Ultimate Fighter. What do you think about the opponent ahead of you, the challenge?
Very tough opponent. Like Eric Shelton, my last opponent, already well battle tested within the UFC, was on the Ultimate Fighter. Like Eric Shelton, he also lost to Tim Elliott on the show. Very well rounded, good jits off his back, good hands. But I think there's some weaknesses I can exploit and strengths I can utilize against him. Obviously, I think my movement and speed gives everyone problems, and I'm looking to take advantage of that again.
Talking about your movement and speed, do you feel that you went to another level with your striking in that Eric Shelton fight, or things came together in a different manner? Because I felt that was one of the crispest Jordan Espinosas we've ever seen.
It's funny you say that, only because after the fight I felt like my striking wasn't very good during that fight. But no, if I had to rate my striking performance in the Shelton fight, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. My striking's come a long way from even just a year and a half, 2 years ago. I used to be kind of a overhand right, just wrestler, and then a lot of movement, but not really putting strikes behind it. And now I think I have a more complete game, and that's just reps, putting in reps with the Sifu Rei, and trying new things, and just trying to be a different fighter and evolve every time I step in the gym and when I go into the cage.
Because the one thing that was most glaring to me, it was the speed difference. Really, that popped off most. Did you expect there to be that big of a difference that it would be visible?
Yeah. To this day, I've never fought anyone that I thought was faster than me, whether it be hand speed or movement. And I even said in the previous interview, right before that fight, that I expected him to have trouble. He's never fought anyone as fast as me, and it's funny because before the fight, he said that I'd have trouble with his movement and that I've never fought anyone as fast as him. And I think that showed during the fight that he was having trouble, especially in the first round. So I think it's a thing in the flyweight division that all these guys are going to have to deal with and try to find a way to figure it out. And I'm just going to keep on moving.
Looking at the flyweight division, what do you see out of the top of it right now? What does that do for your aspirations to become as a martial artist? Looking at Joseph Benavidez, the terror he's on, looking at the champion Cejudo, the level they're taking the division to.
It's nice. It was kind of in limbo for a little bit. Now I think they're finally deciding to stick around with it, and they just signed a few more guys, and yeah, it's kind of cool to see just Henry Cejudo's whole path since DJ. He kind of did save the flyweight division, I guess, even though now it looks like he's not trying to fight flyweight. But no, I think it's nothing but it can only get better. And if you continue to sign more guys, and if we continue to put on exciting fights, then more eyes will come. Henry has put more eyes on it. Henry's had a couple exciting fights. Joseph Benavidez just had a big win. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. So I think when they finally fight for the belt, it'll get some views.
And even coming up this week, and I believe on the card on the prelims, there's Stevenson Figueiredo versus Alexandre Pantoja, another great flyweight matchup. Real quick, give me your thoughts on that one. Two Brazilians, really powerful.
Yeah, Figueiredo actually also fought on the same card as me when I fought back in Nashville. He fought, what's his name, Jussier Formiga. And Figueiredo's a strong, little, powerful dude, but I think Pantoja will probably win if he's able to secure a takedown and avoid the heavy strikes. It's kind of what Formiga did. He was able to hold him down for a couple rounds and secure the win. Not that Figueiredo can't knock him out. I just think his weakness is on the ground, and that's where Pantoja's strength is.
So much strength on the ground. We've seen him, great back taker, right?
Yep.
Now, we said it's important for you wanting to get off to this 2-0 start here in the UFC. Looking at the depth of the division, how many fights do you think it's going to be before you're in the position to see a number by your name?
I mean, right now I'm number 8 if you look on the UFC site. So,
did that surprise you?
Yeah, but I think it's kind of just by default because there was like 12 guys in the division, and I beat Eric Shelton, who had fought several times already in the division. So it surprised me, but I don't really put too much stock into it. I mean, it looks good on paper, but yeah, I think a win, maybe 2 more wins, and I'm in the top 5. And then if I beat a top 5 guy, my next fight, say, and then I'm in the top 5 for sure. And then we're looking somewhere in title contention, probably this time next year, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, does it feel a little strange to go from waiting for these opportunities to get into the UFC to where you hit the ground running, to where title contention it is a thought that's not out of the realm?
No, it's one of the perks of being in a division that's not too deep. You get on a short winning streak. I don't think anyone in the division right now is on a 4-fight winning streak or more. Schnell's on a 3-fight winning streak, but I think 2 of those were at 135.
Right, this is just going to be a second fight back at 25, right?
I believe his last fight was against Luis Smoka, but that was at 35.
Oh, that was, right.
Joseph Benavidez is on a 3-fight winning streak, but I'm pretty sure he has the longest winning streak in the division right now at 125. So, right. Yeah, and I think before that it might have been Formiga. But other than that, yeah, it's one of the perks of being in a division that doesn't have 100 people.
Right, that's a lot nicer than being stuck in the pile back that there is at
Mhm.
145, 55, 70, right?
For sure.
Now, for your growth, where have you been most focusing on improving these last couple weeks before you got the notice, before you got to fight camp?
So it was cool because I was already expecting or hoping to get a fight around this time or even a little bit earlier. So I was already kind of in shape when I got the call for this fight. And I was just basically working my all-around game, particularly for Schnell. I've been working a lot of ground stuff, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and just staying active on my feet. So it's kind of a whole all-around game thing, but I'm always trying to improve in every area. I'm not too worried about where he thinks the fight's gonna go or what he presents.
You're focusing on you dictating on this one?
I am. I think if I want to go to the ground, I'd be able to take it there. If I want to keep it standing, I have the ability to do that too.
What do you do to get an impressive finish in this one?
In an ideal world, I go out there, throw a flying knee, and knock him out in 5 seconds.
But wouldn't it be 4 seconds? Don't you want the record?
Sure. No, but I think just give him problems on the feet. Maybe he has problems with my movement. Hurt him on the feet potentially, and I don't know. I don't really see him shooting to go to the ground, but if so, force him to take a bad shot and maybe finish him on the ground.
On being at 125 pounds, was it a relief when you start to see the promotion signing more guys to the division, that it just gives you a more certainty?
Yeah, it's a little weird being in that like limbo stage, never knowing if your division's even going to be around after your next fight. So yeah, there's a certain sense of security, but I'm a big flyweight anyway, so I was gonna I've kind of had in my head that I was gonna move up to 135 and been okay with that. I mean, I've had in my pro career, I think I've had 10 bantamweight fights, so basically half of my pro fights have been at bantamweight. So it's not like I'd be new to that division. It's just, and I'm getting bigger now the older I get, so I mean, it would have been a little hiccup, but I don't think it would have been that big of a difference. Just been in a deeper weight class and whatever.
Talking about that, getting a little bigger, getting a little older, you feel like the next couple of years flyweight's still your division?
I mean, yeah, if I just stay disciplined with my diet and stay in shape and don't get too big in between camps, I think I could stick at flyweight for a few more years. But yeah, I think after my last fight, I ended up getting up to about 158, and I still never hit 160 yet. But maybe when I start dabbling in 160s or hovering around that area for some time, it might be time to move up.
This fight's going to be on ESPN. How cool is that?
It's super cool, only because like everyone else, or I guess most people my age, kind of went through a phase of coming home and turning on ESPN and watching SportsCenter and like watching it for like 5 or 6 hours, and then yeah, so it's super cool. I'm not really as big as a sports fan as I was back then, but I'm still looking forward to it.
Awesome. Jordan Espinosa, it's always great getting to talk to you, sir. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Micah.